It is a hot, sunny afternoon on Saturday, but the crowd is oblivious of the heat. Two gloved boxers, probably in their early teens, throw a flurry of punches. Cheers and jeers rise in unison, for and against the two pugilists until one visits the canvas, a cracked cement floor. That was the end. The winner was carried shoulder high. Not far away, a group of bare-chested children chase a deflated football, but in no time, they abandoned the game for a zonto, a Ghanaian dance that has gone international. Busy folks bob and weave through narrow streets, vendors sell their wares, and music flows out of almost every house. At first glance, it is just another crowded neighborhood in Accra, but in the annal of the country's history, it is not an ordinary crowded space. This is the popular Jamestown, one of the cradles of Ghana's fight against colonialism. Two edifices overshadow all other buildings, the James Fort and the colonial-era lighthouse. Built by the British in the 17th century, the fort offers great views of the Atlantic Ocean. It served as a prison until recently, and there's no chance of entering it, but is still compelling as a peeling, whitewashed memento of days past. Like the fort, the lighthouse, built in the 1930s, offered an unrestricted panoramic view of Accra's rising skyline and an incredible spot to view the kaleidoscope of colors that fishermen, their canoes and fishmongers can offer. Jamestown also has in its belly several boxing gyms where many young people dream of escaping poverty. An article written by Mr. Nat Nunu Amatefio, a former Metropolitan Chief Executive, tells the story of Jamestown. The story of Jamestown began with the erection of James Fort by the British in 1973 to 1974. The British fort was the last European trading post to be erected in Accra. It was the smallest of the three forts and was built about 1.5 miles from the Dutch fort. It stood at a village called Soko, owned by the Ejumako and Adanse clans. The site for the fort was leased in 1672 to the Royal African Company by the Gamanche Ukaikwe. King James I of Great Britain granted a royal charter to the company to build the fort and gave permission to name it after himself.
My name is Nice One, and then these are historical things we have in the community here. We have the lighthouse and the main fishing harbor of Jamestown and James Fort prisons. There is a big building over there, that's James Fort prisons, which used to be the one of the slave marketing place. And then after they stopped slaving, later it became a prison. But the first prime minister, that's Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he was being kept inside for 2 years before he became a prime minister. So inside over there, we have a gate of no return, slave marketing place, female prison, and the male prison inside over there. And then at the back of me, we have the lighthouse. Also, it's a very nice view. You can see the whole area of Jamestown, even Accra. These are historical things we have in the community here.
Jamestown's cosmopolitan mix of people started literally at its birth. The British brought slaves and laborers from the Alada Kingdom in Nigeria. Alada was a major regional market for slaves, and the word Alata, a corruption of Alada, entered the Ga language to describe people from Alada. It survived to identify Yorubas in general. Before the British created English Alata, there was already in Accra an Alata community residing in Osu. The neighborhood Osu Alata is still in existence. Ga and Fanti workers joined the workforce at James Fort as artisans and laborers. From the struggle against British colonial rule to today, Jamestown has been a hotbed of political activity. Emmanuel Odakwe Obechebi-Lamte, one of the country's many intellectuals, was a member of the Big Six politicians alongside Nkrumah, who valiantly fought for and won Ghana's independence from Britain in 1957. When Dr. Kwame Nkrumah first contested the 1951 elections, Jamestown was among the many communities in Accra Central that voted for him to win the parliamentary seat. Even today, the buzz of the country's political season is incomplete without campaign rallies at Manchagbona Park, the forecourt of the palace of the Chief of Jamestown. The vibrant coastal community is also home to an annual arts and culture festival known as Chalewoti, a blend of youth, artistic work and fashion. Jamestown is Ga, and Ga is Jamestown. Most of the Ga intellectuals you see would trace their lineage to Jamestown now. He, however, admitted that the hunger for education among the youth in Jamestown today was not something to be proud of. Growing up, education was a competition. People used to fish, go to the slaughterhouse, work there in the morning to pay for their fees, and take care of themselves. But the youth have no interest in education. It is mostly those of us who have had the benefit of education that are educating our children. Majority of our people don't care about the education of their children, he added. Although today's Jamestown has lost its shine, yesterday its valor made it possible to add areas such as Dunkona, McCarthy Hill, Weja, Oblogo, Kokrobite and Ajin Kotoku.